I wanted to take a minute here and address two concerns that we've been receiving at Raw Forest Foods through email, through telephone calls, and not going to make this long. I'm also going to be very specific and not making this a sales pitch. I see a lot of that, but that's not what this video is. This is more answering two big questions that we keep on receiving. The first is regarding the products and their susceptibility to carrying COVID-19, the coronavirus, right? So in my research, and I've looked into this a ton because of concerns through Raw Forest Foods, and also because I'm really fascinated about biology and viruses. Looks like the COVID-19 can persist outside of the body in ideal circumstances for 9 days. So what does that mean for Raw Forest Foods, and what does that mean for you? For Raw Forest Foods, that means that we're not concerned at all with the products like being contaminated by the virus, right? Because, the way that things are being manufactured, from workshop to manufacturing, production in the US, right? These are all happening in essentially clean rooms like you would see in manufacturing technology, right? So airlocks going in and out, people in full protective suits, face masks. If you're following the FDA CGMP guidelines, right, you're not really worried about any kind of contamination there. So with Raw Forest Foods, we don't have a concern there. What the concern is going to be, and this is going to be for us, and it's going to be for really anyone that's bringing something into the house or into the workplace, whatever, it's that last step that you're going to worry about, because the infection the virus can persist for nine days, right? So you're not concerned so much with manufacturing. You're concerned with the UPS driver. You're concerned with the USPS delivery person, right? You're concerned with that last step in the chain, right? And this is going to be the same if you're going to the grocery store, if you're going to Costco and buying 15 cases of toilet paper, right? The concern isn't going to be where that toilet paper was manufactured, even where that toilet paper was warehoused. It's going to be you going to Costco, getting that and bringing it home. That's going to be the concern with the exposure for COVID. The other big concern that we've been hearing about is kind of our availability to fulfill orders, our stock. We're not concerned there. Of course, with the Spring Festival, then with the kind of rubbernecking slowdown from COVID-19, what I mean by the rubbernecking slowdown is that it's not so much that we're worried about production or supply, right? We're worried about how things get slowed down because of people acting kind of, let's say, hyper cautiously. Kind of creates that situation on the freeway. You see an accident, someone pumps their brakes, the next person has to kind of pump their brakes a little more, the next person's slamming on the brakes, and all of a sudden you go from someone that just maybe slowed down 5 miles an hour to gridlock. Luckily, production is kind of speeding up from that gridlock. We're not experiencing that anymore, but there is still going to be a bit of that concern. We're not too concerned, I'll say. There has been slowdown. We are ramping up production. We're back in production. So those kind of two big things that we keep on hearing about, the stock issues and the kind of persistence of COVID-19 on the products, not a huge concern. Again, that concern is going to be that last step, and that's really going to be on the side of the person that's bringing something into their house. I was at the grocery store doing just my normal day-to-day grocery shopping, and it was packed, right? And there's a little bit of an irony there, where it's almost like you're in a stadium and you start yelling fire, right? Maybe you light a match and you see the flame come up and you start yelling fire. I'm thinking about that scene from The Office with Dwight doing the fire drill. People are going to be trampled to death. And it's not the initial match striking or whatever it is. Maybe someone sets a piece of paper on fire. That's not the issue, right? It's the reaction to it. So you go to the grocery store and we're being told to kind of, social distancing, kind of this ad hoc quarantining of ourselves. But then we go to the grocery store and there's, a billion people. They're buying everything they can get their hands on. and then we're going home, right? So we're being exposed to people. The things that we're buying are being exposed to people. That 6-foot rule is just like way out the grocery store door. We have to act reasonably and cautiously and remind ourselves this isn't so much about us. So I suspect that most people watching this video are not going to be within that vulnerable population, but we come in contact with that vulnerable population. So when we're thinking about reacting wisely and cautiously to COVID-19 or really anything that's coming up in this kind of like pandemic, epidemic, form, rhetoric, what have you, we have to take that breath, assess what's happening, and then act and not react, right? We don't want to be reacting to anything. We want to be acting with intention. So in thinking about acting cautiously and thinking about taking more of a public health or a global health perspective to things, of course, we want to be wise. We want to be cautious. We want to be washing our hands. We want to be cleaning our phones. And we want to be taking care of ourselves, right? So I prefaced this video with saying I'm not going to talk about any kind of herbal strategies, supplements, or anything like that, but I'm going to talk really quick about the immune system, because there's two things that the immune system needs. And without these two things, no amount of supplements, no amount of anything is going to make up for these two things. Now, these are two things that you don't have to worry about them being exposed to COVID-19. There are two things that you don't have to worry about going out of stock. There are two things you don't have to worry about ordering. And the mail delivery person bringing, COVID, that last step in the chain to your house, and that's sleep and that's stress. So I can't say that one of these is more important than the other, because they are both fundamental, equally important. Without sleep, the immune system is greatly hindered. Without sleep, the immune system is greatly hindered. And I said that twice on purpose, because we forget about these things. We forget about how our own habits and our own lifestyles really have the biggest predictor in our health. It's so easy to want to take something, to buy something. It's really difficult to kind of alter our lifestyles to be more conducive and more conducive to health. So sleep and then stress. I'm not going to tell you that it's easy to get control of stress, and I'm not going to tell you it's easy to get control of sleep, but I'm going to tell you that it is absolutely paramount, and that without getting control of them, really everything else, anything else that we can do just doesn't matter. It's going to be that last 5%. 95% is going to be sleep and stress. Those are the two biggest culprits for suppressed, depressed, overactive, whatever immune system. So any kind of immune dysfunction. Sleep, stress, get those under control. It's going to be 95% of your path towards having a fantastic immune system. That last 5% is going to be things like, it's hard to not mention anything specifically, but it's going to be kind of interventions that you're taking in your life in terms of supplements, herbs, acupuncture, anything like that. Just to recap it real quick, we kind of talked about 4 different things. I said we're going to talk about 2 different things. We ended up talking about 4. The first one is the possibility of bringing COVID-19 into your house. Yes, you should be concerned about it. Be cautious, act, don't react. It's happening, that last step. It's happening going to the grocery store, bringing something home. It's happening, something being delivered to the house, kind of from the truck to the front door. The next one is stock and product availability at Raw Forest Foods. Don't worry about it. We're worried about it for you. Things are speeding back up, and actually we have a couple new products that are super exciting that are about to hit our warehouse, so we can start shipping them to you. Next one is talking about acting and not reacting, being wise and cautious, and remembering this isn't so much about you in terms of hand washing, cleaning your phone, taking a wise approach to social distancing. That does not mean social isolation. And then the 4th thing was supporting that immune system through sleep and stress. Of course, when everyone is worried about their health and the health of the people that they love, an economy that seems like it is collapsing because of this, a little bit extra difficult to get control of sleep and stress, but it is just as important as ever. It's going to get you 95% to having an optimum immune system. That last 5% is going to be lifestyle interventions, modifications like herbs, supplements, medicinal mushrooms, acupuncture, whatever that is that you're adding to. It's going to get you from an A, a 95%, to an A plus, a 100%. But it's going to be you kind of making those changes to your daily life in terms of sleep and stress that get you to that A. Without that 95%, you won't get that 5%. You have to get that 95% first. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, anything like that, go ahead and shoot us an email, give us a call, we'll get back to you. Stay safe and stay sane. Remember to take that breath before acting so that you know that you're acting with intention, you know that you're owning your emotions, you know that you're owning the way that you're relating to yourself and you're relating to other people, and you're not just reacting on kind of primal fear, which is a lot of what we're receiving through the media, even through trusted sources of information that aren't really media, maybe they're social media. We're getting a lot of fear right now. We want to combat that fear with acting with intention.